Evening, everyone. Hope you're having a great week and you're ready for the show. It's Thursday evening. It's my regular slot of the DU chats, and I'm just waiting to see who's on there. So we're just going to tune in. I'm not sure what you guys have been up to this week. Hello, Chris. Welcome. So Chris has just joined there. He's from Red Ash. They're actually the distributors in the UK for the IRT and Hedson units. Hedson IRT have just joined, so let's just send them a request. They might beat me to it, but we'll see who wins on this one. So there we go.
Request, you should be able to see that shortly. If you just click on it and connect, that would be great. And then we'll get the show on the road. It's been a oh, here we go. Just as I was about to tell them hello. So for those of you, hey, wonderful. All right, so let me introduce you guys. So for those of you who don't know who's here, on the left-hand side of your screen, if you're looking at it the same as me, we've got Linus, and he is the MD of IRT. On the right-hand side, we have Magnus. He came, and you might have seen him in my workshop about a year ago. There's a picture of him and Chris there, and he's the sales manager for the Nordic countries and the UK. So welcome, guys. Congratulations. I'm glad you've joined me. It's a little bit different tonight to have you both on the show, so we'll see how it goes, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So if you would like to give us a little bit of background about yourselves and sort of how you got into the business, that would be great. I don't know. Should we start with Linus? Since they're on the left.
I started in this business almost 20 years ago now. Not really. But typically 20 years. But I came in to this by starting selling spray booth for one of the major Swedish companies who do customized spray booths. During that time, that company was a reseller of the Hedson product, especially the IRT and the suspended rail system, and also the Hercules lifting system and the Dresden mixing room. So I've been working with the Hedson product, so to say, for almost 20 years now. I got the opportunity to start as the area sales manager for the Nordic in 2004.
So Magnus's old job.
Yeah, I had Magnus' old job, and it's the funniest job. It's the funniest job you can have. It's really awesome. I really miss it from time to time, but that was now 17 years ago. I did the sales roles until 7 years ago.
7, 8 years ago.
Yeah, 8 years ago. And when the Hedson, as to say, in a company, is IRT, here where we are sitting now in Vänersborg, where we produce infrared and UV light, and has done so since 1968. So it's typically now coming in 55 years of doing curing of paint up here. Dresden in Malmö, where we do gun washers and also wheel washers, and then the factory in Hercules, where we do lifting. So these three independent or dependent companies are then the Hedson brand, where we have the sales channel and so on. So this is what I do. Spend my time here. We have our own R&D. We have the production here, and we have also a little bit salespeople. But Magnus, who he's barely here. He has an office here, but we see him. We see you twice a month coming in.
Maybe.
Yeah, coming in with expenses.
Yeah, my colleagues and my wife.
Yeah. So I ended up by coincidence. I'm actually coming from a total different way. Started working with the telecom industry, production of telecom, and production enhancement has been what I was used to be. But I just slided into sales and the body shop business, and the body shop business is it's very, very different. So it is, for me, coming in, you can't, it's like a poison. If you're getting in here, you can't leave it, because the business it's quite small, even if it's very global. There are not so many players, and you know everyone. You know your colleagues, you know your competitors. You meet them everywhere. You drink beer with them on normal days when it's not Corona. So being a global business, it's very, very small, and it's extremely funny. I can't leave it. And of course, since I started doing this, I had to learn to paint. And painting is it's one of the funniest thing that you can do, according to me. Especially me, who doesn't do it on a day-to-day basis. But it's a really awesome thing.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that you were actually painting as well. So we'd have to have a challenge one day.
Yeah, I can't. So I have a story where when I can be, if my friends now are watching, which I don't hope they are, I could be considered as a little bit of a I like competitions. So okay. I don't really like to do stuff halfway. So okay. When I came in and I understood that this is a business that I wanted to stay in, I can't be reliable if I don't know how to paint. So I had to start learning paint. And of course we have awesome paint schools because we do business with, most of our business go through the paint channels. So I live in Gothenburg, and in Gothenburg, Axalta and BASF, they have the Nordic training centers there. So of course I squeezed into all the paint sessions and how to do that. Then we have in the factory, we have a spray booth with all the equipment. So it started, and I started to do motorcycles because one of my best friends, he competed in motorcycle, and he was quite bad, so he crashed the motorcycle all the time. So we had to repaint it a lot, and he didn't have any sponsorships, so we started to paint the other guys' motorcycles in, so he can get free tires for the one who got sponsored, and we painted their motorcycles. So that was a part. And my biggest challenge was that my dad, now since we're having this English guy, my dad bought new an MGB convertible 64, and he told me, Linus, if you don't smoke or get drunk before you're 18, I'm going to give you the car. So he never caught me. Actually, still today, I don't think that I have smoked an entire cigarette in my entire life. We do the Swedish tobacco snus instead. So, but I can imagine you have turned your fingers into this a little bit more vintage English cars. You can know how they are built.
Oh no, so
but I painted this myself 6 years ago, and it was actually quite good. It's painting in a way when you do a full car. It's not that difficult. It's when you do the touch up, and you have to get the colors right and all of that. I tried to really understand on how you're going to mix a color, because that's how the paint guys always get you in the first 3-4 days. You had to mix the colors. It's not. I don't have it. I'm probably somewhere colorblind. I can't. No, I can see that. I see that it's wrong, but I don't understand how to mix it. I can't get my head around it.
Yeah, there's some really amazing guys out there. There's Dave in the States. He does big RVs, and he's really good. So just to stop you there a minute, Linus, so we can get a little bit about Magnus as well, and before we move on, if you don't mind. So Magnus, how did you get into it?
Yeah, I started around 1988 or so in the car business also, but then I was working for Saab on the factory. It's only 15 minutes from here. And I started working here around 20 years ago, so I've been in the car business for all my life actually, and now I'm stuck here. But I've been doing several times. I mean, now I have Linus' old job, but in the past I was a technician traveling all around the world, the installation of ER equipment, whatever. So I've been around a lot.
So you guys have pretty much, you've sort of come in at the entry level, so to speak, and then just you haven't come in as a salesperson, you haven't come in as an MD, Linus. You've come in from the roots, and you understand it from the roots up. Am I right?
It's more or less so for everybody on this company. Actually,
Yeah.
we have done everything, and we help each other. It's a quite small company, so we need to help each other.
How many people work for you? Or work within the company?
So for Hedson in total, I think we are 150-ish.
Something like that,
150, 160 people, divided into these 3 companies. So we're typically between 40 and 50 on each site. We have a sales office in France and a sales office in North America. Right now in Canada, and we are now building, setting up a new one in outside Detroit also. That's going to be up now in a few months. So typically 3 production sites, 2 sales office, and then a 3rd one now in US, because North America or the US are handled from our Canadian office. So this is how we are set up.
Right. Okay. And they've got literally their own team and just put the orders into you and you send it out.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They're doing, right.
So they are typically sales and technicians, repairing, installation, and so on. Then we have, of course, when we also have one of, especially up here in IRT, we do customize big things for industrial applications, especially into the automotive industry. Everything is still about curing paint or curing other chemicals. Can be bounding stuff on the line. So this is also one of the big things that we do here, customized products for curing into the car industry. In UK, one of them, Chris knows this also, Jag Land Rover is one of the big customers we have in the UK.
So because I actually saw on your post, I think it was yesterday, you did an extend reach infrared system.
Mm-hmm.
So and if nobody's seen it, if you after this conversation, don't go now because we want to talk about it. But after this, go and check it out. It's their 2nd post before this one, and it basically looks like. And correct me when I'm wrong. So let me explain what I've seen. So it's got sort of the same sort of frontage as the IR unit I've got, except for it's double-headed, and it's on a sort of hydraulic system that extends out and goes up. It goes up incredibly high. And so, what would that be for? Trucks or what's?
That specific unit? You can see that it also tilts so it can dry upwards.
Yes.
That specific unit is for the new big. So the biggest engine for aircrafts today built is the Airbus 350. They are building this in France, and they when they have done the chassis, they could have spots that needs to be fitted inside the engine chassis before you hang in the engine, and the fans are coming in. So this is so you can spray paint it and fix all the small damages on the production line, and then you can take whatever part you want. That's why it needs to have, and it has like a 4.2 meters extension that comes in, so you can reach all the spots from the Airbus 350 engine. So that is another thing that we are probably. So we have what we call the body shops, the one we're talking about now, and we have the car industry, and then we have the aviation industry. These are our 3 big legs that we're standing up on here. But it's correct. You saw that it was very similar heads, so we are reusing the same type of infrared equipment we are using to body shops, but we are building it in a different chassis or in a different application.
So how long does something like that take to build, from somebody coming to you and saying, right, this is what I need, can you make it? How long does that sort of take? So from there to delivery.
Yeah, I want to have 12 weeks, but they usually gets us 8. So today we had typically one of the big car manufacturers that we are supplying all the infrared to is Tesla. So now they are building a little bit touch-up factory in Texas, and so now they want to have a suspended system with a little bit of this and that, and typically we need to have it down there in 6 weeks, and it's 4 weeks on both. So I got 2 weeks. I just got the call, and it's like, oh, okay. So, and then we drop everything, and then we have to fix it. So yeah.
Because this was going to actually be one of my next questions before we sort of jumped ahead now, was actually how is business and how are you coping within the COVID, because things will have to change. Like Magnus, you can't come out and see us. You know, there was talk of me coming over and seeing you. That's not going to happen because everything just sort of has just been thrown upside down. So, but by the sounds of it, you're still doing really well. So, you know, how have you got around that, or is it just because you're manufacturing these products and you're willing to sort of put yourself out of it?
The industrial segment, the lead time when they make the decisions, it's already decided, and the capex investment that they are going to do is decided probably 2 years ago, and sometimes they have reached so far they don't stop it. It's just going to come through anyway. So for us that stands on both industrial side where the capex just keep going, this is probably this is the best. 2020 was the best industrial year in IRT history. But we can see a tendency that new decisions are postponed. They put projects on ice. At the same time, we have the electrical cars that needs to be built because the demand is so huge. So the transformation needs to be done anyway. So that side, we have actually more to do on industrial side than we had ever done. The body shop side, yeah, it's a little bit different now because it's slower in some region. Right now, it's a standstill in UK. People can't visit. We have the UV part where it's a transformation. You have a paint technician coming out and showing you how it's going to be done, and he supply you with products and hardware and chemicals. That one has slowed down a little bit. We can see just because they can't visit the customers.
Yes.
Then we have the fact that we are selling to 78 countries that we are selling products to. So right now, China is buying a lot. Canada is doing okay. North America is almost closed. France is on a standstill. Sweden is still pretty good because we don't have the travel regulations.
Right.
So it's a little bit good here. It's a little bit bad here, but but we have actually done. We have had a quite good year in 2020. It's been okay for years. Been typically a mediocre year for us if we compare it to other years. So the effect is more local. Italy, that is one of our biggest markets, has been chaotic, really, really bad. They are struggling. Spain is struggling.
Yeah. Well, those are the two biggest places. If you were to say a country, that it would be those two.
And France.
And France, yeah. Well, yeah. I guess, yeah, France would come on that in the top 3. Yeah, definitely. There's a question here that's just popped up from Martin Benetti. Are you still studying some combo IR UV units? Because, I mean, and we'll talk. Although I'm here, I have actually brought home my my Smart Cure lamp, which I'm loving, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But just to
good, I brought my own.
So to just let's answer Martin Benetti's question. Are you thinking of combining the two? Because I have heard talk about that.
Yeah, Martin knows our product. He has been working with our products probably longer than I have done. And we have the combination lamp, but it's a low pressure bulb. The problem with the LED is that it's very sensitive of distance. It's very hard to give the beneficial, because you need to have a very high energy input to do your 10, 20, 30-second curing time. When you take it from 10 centimeters to 20, you tend to just have a quarter of the milliwatt per square centimeters. That is so important. I seen a lot of your videos, and we have exactly the same idea. To do the really fast curing, you need to be over 100 milliwatt per square centimeter when we measure the full bandwidth. If you now take that from 20 down to 10 centimeters down to 20 centimeters, you're only getting 25, just because of the LED is so distance sensitive.
Which means that, sorry, I'll just add to that, because you've pulled it away and you've reduced the power on the light, you have to then compensate that by increasing the time that you're curing. Yeah.
So when we now take the LED and we put it into a combo unit, you have seen you're using the 4-1 PC Auto Light version, we call that, on the stick.
Okay.
That one typically have just over 1x1 square meter
drying area.
Drying area.
Yeah.
So when we put in the LED between the light the light bulbs, we should give the same curing area so you can always have the same curing area if you're using infrared or UV. And the low pressure bulb that we are using, it gives the same. When we have to do this and we want to do it in the fast way with an LED, we had to put in somewhere around 1500 watts of LED, and LED is like the price of a motorboat engine. You know, you pay by the horsepower. So 100 horsepower engine costs you £10,000, and a 200 horsepower going to cost you £20,000. The same is with the LED. So we have to figure out the way of producing a very high energy into a big surface without totally breaking the cost. So this is what we are now trying to figure out on how we can do the LED IR combi unit. So no matter what you are using, you can always have the same mobile. That's what we want to have. You do a clear coat, you use the infrared, you do primer, you use the LED. So you always have the same unit.
Yeah, and it produces a lot of heat internal when you start to put a lot of power in it.
Yeah.
So that's also a challenge.
Yeah, because I mean, I know with this, it's got a fan that kicks in when it works to cool down the LEDs on the front here. And that's actually a feature that on the review I mentioned about that. The fact that you sort of thought about putting a filtration system on the side here, so when it's sucking in the air, it's actually clean air coming into the unit, not plugging up the fan or anything. And I thought it's a changeable filter, and I thought that's a really good idea.
Yeah, it gives them. So when we came out with the Smart Cure, and it has all the things, we decided to give it a 3-year warranty also. There is one way to break an LED very fast. It's to overheat it. The overheating, even if you're coming close, it actually doesn't get damaged until it reaches 130, 140 C, but it starts to giving a very wear and tear when it passes 90 degrees. That's why we need to make sure that the LEDs themselves, the diodes, never get over 85 degrees, because then we are below the wear and tear, and then you're getting the 20,000 hours that you expect. If you clogging it and you're getting a lot of dust inside the cooling plate that sits in there, you're starting to lose the cooling, and that's now gonna in our machine, it's gonna start tripping it, because when you hit 85, the machine is gonna say stop, and it's gonna shut down. It's gonna say overheating, and then you have to wait for a few seconds until it's cooled down, and then you can go again. So
then you know it's time to change the filter.
then you have to change the filter.
Right.
But if we
Okay. So
didn't
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So if
that's the little trick. So if it starts, if you've reached and it's automatically cutting off, it's because your filter needs changing and it's a little bit clogged.
Yeah.
exactly.
That's
So
good.
it's nothing wrong with the unit. It's just overheated and just time for the filter.
So I'm glad you told me that because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, because it's also need to today it's going to work really fine with a clogged filter because you probably have 17 degrees in your workshop.
12.
But yeah, 12. But Panetti knows that in 6 months from now he's going to have 35 degrees in the workshop that he's visiting, and it needs to work at 35 degrees plus Celsius in the summertime also. That's why we have the filter system, so it's you haven't clogged the fine shaved cooling that sits inside it. It's more or less the old moped with the air cooling.
Air-cooled mode.
Yeah.
So
like the fins, people can't see that, but actually in here you could just see the silver. So if you see that silver in there, they're all very fine pieces of metal fins, and that's what's cooling it down that Linus has just told us about.
and the thinner you can get them, the better cooling you get, and that's the hard part.
I can understand that. So something else about this. This is actually the 365 I brought home, but there's also the 395. So what was your thinking behind having those two different ranges? And maybe you can explain for the people who don't know the difference between 365 and 395. We're talking about the wavelength.Maybe you could briefly explain that a little bit more.
Where is that?
Yeah.
You,
we can
me?
try. We can try.
We can try. Would you go?
Yeah.
Magnus, over to you.
Yeah. The most common one is 395 actually, the wavelength 395. The tricky part is if you have a photo insulator that not react on under 395, it's not going to be dry.
No.
So there are a few suppliers that have 365. That means if you have a 395, nothing is going to happen. You can use a ordinary flashlight. It's the same effect. So that means that we need to have a 365. The thing is, you can dry everything that is below above 365. It's okay. So you can use a 365 to dry everything up to 400 or whatever, but you cannot go down.
Right, and that's something that for those of you who don't know enough about UV or want to learn a bit more, that's a really good explanation there. So 395 will cure 395 and just above, but it will not come down to the 365 wavelength, whereas the 365 will bring up, and you'll be able to sort of kill two birds with one stone, so to speak.
Yeah, and I know you have tried both of them. You can see a slight difference. The color of the light is a little bit different.
Yeah, and temperature.
And the 365 is actually producing a little bit more heat also.
Yeah. The lower you go down in the wavelength, the more heat the LED actually produce. Yeah. And when you're producing heat, you're also losing a little bit intensity. It comes back to the chemistry of the paint company, which photo initiator they are choosing for their product. Why they are choosing a photo initiator on the lower band, it's not 100% true, but if I'm going to make a shortcut, the lower you go in the photo initiator, the more stable the photo initiator becomes. The problem is that the lower they get, the harder it's going to get to find LED that can cure it. Because today, the lowest one you can go down to is typically 340. Every step that you now take from a 395 to a 365 to a 340, they're getting more and more expensive, about twice as expensive for every step you take. So the LEDs on a 340 is typically 8 times as expensive as a 395. So now the hardware starts to become really expensive.
Yeah.
And that makes the paint company trying to go up as high as they can, because they also need hardware so they can sell the chemicals. So it is a little bit mixture of who is doing what. Some of the chemical companies, most of them are using 395. Some of them are mixing, so they could have a 395 on a filler, but they have a 365 on a putty. And this is why we have already done the 365 version, so we can cure all of the LED products out there.
So hopefully that answers a lot of questions for you guys if you weren't sure which one to go with. Really sound advice there. And I've also noticed that there is, or heard about companies moving to 365, producing products that work on that. So it's something that I think we'll probably see maybe later this year, next year, we'll see more 365 products coming out. Just taking you back to the infrared units, if you don't mind. So the unit you sent to me, and I've just done a review on that if anybody wants to watch a sort of introduction to the unit. It's amazing. It is amazing, and the technology on there it helps out a lot, and it's definitely helped my business. But what I wanted to ask was, how do you work out your programming? So for your water base, how long it should take for the clear coat? So where do you sort of know the times that you want, like 4.5, 457, and then you want a full cure at 8 minutes, that sort of, and the temperatures? How did you go about that?
Yeah, so you mean the settings that already came with the machine?
Yeah, the pre-programmed settings, yeah.
Yeah, we we did them. They are we call them soft settings. They are really, really soft settings. So typically we know that the base coat we can cure under 2 minutes, typically 1.5. The base coat, the water base coat, have a very sensitive edge of 60 degrees. Some of them, because I don't know what type of base coat you are using. Some of the base are very, very sensitive. Some of them are not sensitive. The fine thing with the base coat is that it's only sensitive during the curing process. When it's cured and it's already laminated, then you can hit it almost with everything you have. But during this, when you're evaporating it, it's very sensitive for the binding process. So we do it a little bit slower, so it will fit whatever you have. So slower, it's also longer, a little bit lower temperature. Clear coat, typically if you want to do an aggressive clear coat, and you know exactly that you are putting on the right amount of microns, you know that you're putting on 65 microns, wherever you hit it, we can cure that with an infrared under 6 minutes. But we don't know, so you're probably going to put on 120 on the hood,
yeah,
because you want it a little bit more shiny, and you maybe are using a little bit more sensitive clear coats. So that's why we flatten out the curve. You can see that you can regulate on how many degrees per minute you can choose. And that degrees per minute is ensuring that you're getting exactly the same curing result if it's a silver metallic, white, or black, because it's reflecting from the light. So if we don't regulate that, and you would have it just go on 100% until it reaches something, and then 100% until it reaches another target, you will have the black car would have much more a steep curve than a white car that swallows the energy from the light.
Yeah.
So what we have done is like, okay, we do a very soft setting. So when you're getting the lamp and you're installing it and you try it out for the first time, you're going to think, 12 minutes is a little bit long for a clear coat, but you don't burn it. And then you can go in and fine tuning it down to your 6 minutes or 8 minutes, or setting that one up. But the first one, 10 years ago, maybe, yeah, we came out with like, yeah, you're going to cure it in 8 minutes or 6. So we send them out and they like, oh, everything is bubbling.
You start popping.
Yeah, so we started popping instead. And the phone calls, 2 different phone calls when you're getting, hey, can I get this one faster? Or you ruined my work. There are 2 different levels of those phone calls. So we took it in the safe side. So you can trim this. I could say you can halven your curing time by, if you want to push it, but then you have to know exactly what you're doing, that you have a clear coat that can cope with this. In the industrial side, when we do the body shop, when they do the repair on the line, they are doing the clear coat in less than a minute.
Yeah.
Wow.
They are doing very, very fine small repairs, and they just want to hit it. They want it
140, 60
exactly.
degrees.
They want it to go up to 140, 160 degrees in a very short time, but they have it's an process that they are doing, and for the body shop aftermarket, we don't have that type of damages. They are fixing damages that are like we call needle heads.
Right.
That is typically the size of damages they are doing. Otherwise, they take it offline and do a spot repair or a full panel.
That's actually a tricky part for them when it comes to the clear coat. These days, we have quite fast drying clear coats.
Yes.
The thing with the ER, we are actually the activator. We are the one who's speeding up the process. If we also have a very fast clear coat, we are closing the surface too fast and it starts popping.
Yep.
So if you're using clear coat and want to speed it up with the ER, you need to use a little bit slower, thinner and hardener.
Yep.
Then you're really safe.
Yeah,
And
that's
you can
right.
do it.
Because so with my Octrol, I know that there's certain hardeners that I can use with my particular clear coat that I use, and if I use, say, the number 23 hardener, and you try and force dry that, you'll just have problems with it. You'll have solvent trapment and various other things. So it's just too quick. It's a quick hardener anyway. But if you drop down to the 24, 25, then you can use your system easily on that, and that's exactly what you've just said.
Yeah.
So I'm just conscious of the time. We've just like flown through today. So I've got so many questions for you. So let me just go. Let me just quickly try and find something that because we covered a lot of this. So we've been through your products. I've got a question here. This might be of interest. What are your two favorite things about the job? So if you were to say, right, I love this and I love this. So in the morning you wake up and you think, this is what I love about my job.
Solving problem and people.
That's
it's
brilliant.
Very nice to meet people all the time.
Linus, do you agree?
It's very social job.
Yeah, probably my job that I have now, the job that I really want, his job that I gave away, that I don't really like that I gave away.
You have too much office time.
Yeah. But because meeting the people, visiting the body shops, doing exactly what you said. But what I really like with my job now, it's probably, you've seen Harry Potter, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Harry Potter, think about the Harry Potter elevator. It doesn't only go up and down, it also goes sideways. So this is typical on how my day is when you're sitting talking about nuts and bolts and performance and microns on a filter, and all the way down to the bottom to 30 minutes later sitting and doing an executive report and bookkeeping, and then finally getting a call from Loyander and asking, can I get this machine and fly over? So that is probably my fun day. I have no clue on how my day is going to look until it's done. That is probably the best with my work.
I would.
But it's awesome.
I think that's really good. And I've just heard you say, so I've been calling you Magnus, and that's what I've always known you as, but you've just called him Loyander. So
family name.
Family name. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Loyander, we have so many Magnus here, not so many more.
Not anymore now.
No, so that's why.
So does your family name follow with, we're going on a little detour here, so like the Islamic people there, your son would be called Loyanderson or Magnusson, or is that
No, we just keep the same,
same
family name.
Same family name.
Okay. I had a friend
that's
once.
Boring.
I had a friend at school once so his first name was Thorgil. His last name was Gunnarsson, so he was the son of Gunnar. and then his first name was Thorgil. So his son, Thorgil's son, will become Thorgil's son.
Yeah. And
Which
I actually used to play ice hockey, and I have a old guy I was playing with. His name was Gay Gayson. Because his father's name was Gay. So he was Gay Gayson.
okay. Oh dear. Yeah, well, it's all right if you think of the happy term of it. So just quickly to go back a step, I'm trying to get in as much as we possibly can in this hour. And so you mentioned that the lamp comes with a 3-year warranty. Is that with all your products, or just certain ones?
Not yet. Depends on, since if you for example, if you now look into our UK importer that you met, Chris, with Redash, so they are usually the one that gives out the warranty. If you go and buy a gun cleaner from Redash, our Dresser gun cleaner, you have a lifetime warranty on the pumps, for example. I would certainly think that you have a 3-year warranty on an infrared, and the great thing with our units is they don't break ever. So it's good in one way, but I had a question on an IRT model called 101, and he is asking for it broke down. He had it for many years, and I said, we don't have the spare parts for this. We stopped producing this 1978, and so he bought it before 1978, and now it broke down. But he said the lamps are still working. It's only the twisting knob. And I say I can go down to the cellar and see if I can find anything. So in a way, we have a life expectancy test of everything we do, especially the mobiles and the one that you have. We see a life expectancy test on that for about somewhere between 15 and 20 years. And why it's not only because we like to do really, really sturdy machines, but it's also coming into when you do an investment, and it from a CO2 perspective, it's actually costing the same amount of CO2 of building this infrared lamp that is going to last for 20 years, or if you're going to buy an infrared lamp that lasts you for a couple of years. The CO2 footprint on these two machines are typically exactly the same. But then you can imagine the one that breaks after a couple of years for a lifetime is going to have a CO2 footprint that is 20 times as high because of the lifespan. So this comes back to on how we are organized and set up as a company, where we always bring stuff in, and when we're building it, we really want to have it of lasting. We're talking about the handheld units and the smart cure that you're looking into. That is a particular unit that we don't know, because typically they break if you drop it or drive over it with a car or something like that.
So if you're just careless with it.
If you're careless with it. You don't do that with a mobile, because then you crash your car into it. So the smart cure, we really don't know on the lifetime expectancy. We have produced thousands of units of it. We still don't have any claims, so we know that it's a very sturdy machine. And as you said, the design and the filters are probably one of the reasons why we're not getting any calls about it.
And that's reassuring for anybody who's looking at buying one as well. I mean, if you have that much confidence, and like you say, you're not building something to last only a couple of years. You're building it to last as long as 15, 20 years, as long as you look after it, really. And with this, there's no reason why that shouldn't last. The full sort of, the only thing that should go on it is probably the battery eventually and the LEDs after 20,000 hours, which is a phenomenal length of time.
Actually, that's the same with the ER lamp. It's the same. It's I think his warranty is over 20,000 burning hours on the lamp. So in 20 years, I changed 4 lamps, 4 1-kilowatt lamp that was actually broken.
All right.
So last. And most of the big secret there is that we are cooling down the lamp, because it's not overheating, even in the infrared units.
No, you can, if we're talking about the infrared and the lamps and the bulb itself, you can. I know that we are getting out somewhere around, machine-wise, maybe 15 to 20,000 lamps a year that is leaving our shop, and typically we have done that since for a very long time, 50 years, and we are selling spare part lamps, like 20 lamps a year maybe, for all that hundreds of thousands of units with lamps out there. We are selling a couple of handfuls of spare part lamps, and it's because they have, most of the time, it's because they have broke it by hitting it, or it's falling down.
Mechanical.
So they don't break ever.
So it really comes back to that old saying of you pay for what you get, really.
Yeah, in a way, yes.
Yeah. Buy cheap, buy twice. Right. So I'm a little bit on my seat here because I don't want to run out of time without asking you the rest of these questions. This is a question I've been dying to ask, and it's mainly for Magnus, but I want to also ask you, Linus. I'm laughing because I already know what I'm going to say. What do you do? Sorry, hold on. What do you do in your spare time for your downtime to relax?
Yeah, you know what I'm doing. Yeah, this winter time, I'm bathing, taking some sauna, and just jumping in the big lake here, and it's around 2 or 3 degrees plus right now, and of course maybe a couple of beers to that because I need to survive. But that's real relaxing, and it's in my summer house actually.
So you that is literally, I mean, I've seen the pictures of it. I can't believe it, and I've sent some messages to you. So you sort of get in your sauna. Is this a Swedish thing? So you're in your sauna, warm your stuff up, and then into the water, or into the water, then into the sauna?
Yeah, both ways. Yeah. So
And then repeat it.
And repeat it over and over again.
And Linus, do you do this too?
Yeah. But I do it a little bit different. I have a hot tub outside, but wooden fire hot tub.
Okay.
And then I take my chainsaw and I open up a hole in the pool, and then we go in. So it's it's really, if you do it correct, it's really, really nice. But you have to.
Oh, I think we've just lost Linus. Hopefully they're gonna, just as we found out. Oh, here we go. Oh, no, we've lost them again. Are you back? Okay.
I think we lost the sound, right?
Yeah, we lost you just a moment there. So you were just saying about how to do it correctly.
So let's see if I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yep, perfect.
Yeah, good. Now you're back.
Yeah.
So if you want to do it correctly and have a nice experience, you should spend a lot of time, minimum 20 minutes, preferably 30 minutes in the sauna, and not too hot. So you have to make sure that you're getting even and really thoroughly heated, and then you can slide down, and it's a different experience of getting in 10 minutes, really, really hot on the outside, jumping in. That's going to be like an explosion of pain instead. So there is good ways that you can ask these guys that do it probably on a weekly basis. But
you don't need to think about it, because next year when this Corona shit is over, we can spend a weekend in the sauna and you can take a bath in the lake. You can feel for yourself.
I am such a wuss when it comes to the cold. Sorry, what was that?
The beers are on me, so yeah, you can try it next year.
I'm going this sober. No people in the right mind in doing this sober. So if they're saying that, they're lying.
So we have a real problem with this offer then. I don't drink at all.
No, then even better. You're going to have a lot of pain, and I don't.
Okay.
You must be the first Englishman I ever met that don't drink a beer. But it's I really, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Never drunk, so I've never been drunk. Never drunk, so I'm terrible like that.
Not me either. I don't remember it.
Right. So we've got a few minutes left. What should we look out for next year from you guys?
I'm not really sure if I can say. I'm not really sure if I can say that we. What we some of the answers we have probably already given a little bit away. Of course,
Okay.
we are looking into the combo units because the combo units with a low pressure bulb, it's a big selling thing for us still. It's very sturdy and still working, but the time that it takes to cure takes a little bit longer than people using LED is used to. So the combo units, of course, and then we keep developing the handheld machines that are today. Of course, I see actually question you have the half arch, yeah. We're looking into the robotic drying systems where we do today only with infrared. We have done a few good prototypes that are out where we have also UV in the robotics for bigger curing areas. We are working with the paint companies to see what their strategic part is. Do they want to move into taking a full side of a car? Or they still want to stay with limited surfaces depending on how their warranty are working and so on. Right now, we are working on an upgrade on some of the machines. We want to, it's always been us performance. We want to have more power, bigger surface, and more even surface. So this is where we are putting our focus to of coming out and just making stuff that can make your work faster.
There is actually a big difference because when we're starting up the company, not we, because we were in diaper then, but when I started up, we take the technology and show it to the market. Right now, we do it the opposite way. We need your input actually. We need all the one who is painting and drying paint and whatever. What do you need? So we do it the opposite way now.
Yeah, so you want basically almost like field testers, really, just to understand where there needs to be some fine tuning, and that's, I think, the big, and I've said this before.
So you guys are the most important for us because we need input.
And that for me, and I've said this before about other companies, that's something that's really important to me, is where a company is willing to sort of take that input, and whether they use it or not, but at least listen to it and accept it as a valid input, because there are so many people out there that do have really good ideas that could help you. I mean, some of them are rubbish, like, I'm sure I've got some rubbish ones, but we were talking about that. Okay, so my last question for you.
There is an important thing here that everyone in the body shop business sometimes make a mistake. The car industry is not driving this market. They are not the innovators. The body shops and the repairing on how they're repairing the cars in the car factories are 10, 15 years behind the body shops. So what they are looking into is how body shops are doing it, because you're hunting minutes and seconds in your production. You can use materials that they cannot use because it takes 5 to 8 years, because it goes all through their processes and having all of that. So for us to be a supplier to all the major car brands into the factories, we're actually using the insights that you guys are providing us to come up with new things of repairing it in their factories. So for us, it's the opposite. It's the aftermarket that is driving the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
I don't know any other business that is that way. It's typically the other way around, but not in this business.
Because we're always trying to push that envelope. So we, like you said, it's about minutes. It's about making your workshop or spray shop more efficient, but without it being detrimental to the finish of the job. And so we push that envelope on those products a little bit more each time we use it. And all right, so they say this product is not really designed for that, but with a little tweaking, you can make it work for that. But it's just, So last questions for you guys. Do you have a tip? I ask this for everyone. Do you have a tip that you could share with us all? So a tip from each of you that we can take away and and hopefully benefit or just think about?
Specify it in, you mean for this specific session or like a life hack?
A life tip. Yep, a life hack.
I
Absolutely.
would
Life
say
tip.
in a life tech, try to learn something new every day. Every day you learn something new, it's a good day.
Yeah, that's good.
When you stop to want to do that, you can do something else.
Yeah, just forget about
Yeah.
it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Since we are on the Instagram platform, now I have a thing that I learned. My oldest daughter, she was born with a heart condition, so she had to go through surgery just when she almost was newly born, and we ended up in this hospital side where they are specialized in operation of heart conditions on kids. So it's a special doctors and it's a special one, and it was us plus 20 other people. And our daughter, her heart condition was quite minor, and it was like 100% chance of succeeding, and she will have a totally normal life afterwards. And when we're ending up with the other 17 kids in that one, she is the healthiest person there. So I'm feeling so lucky. I'm like I'm winning the lottery ticket. That's my feeling around there. My friends that had kids and family looking into our situation, we had a kid. She was born 19th of June, and we were hospitalized until Christmas. They like, oh, it's a mess. They looked into our situation and thought they was very sorry for us. I brought this one back, and like, this is the strength thing, and this comes back to the Instagram part, that you should stop like comparing, because you're always comparing yourself. And on Instagram, when people are comparing with expertise on how people have it and how they are doing it, instead of learning from each other. So that's what I'm saying. Start learning and stop comparing. That is my life hack.
I think that is Magnus, yours was brilliant, Linus, but yours is to the point, because I absolutely agree. Don't look at what other people have, like you said on here. You know, don't worry about them having massive followers. Just look at what they can help you with, and you can learn from, and then do it your way. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to sign up because we're going to get cut off in literally a few minutes. I want to thank you both so much for doing this with us today, and thank you for the great products you brought out onto the market.
Yeah.
I look forward to that ice dip next year, Magnus. Not really, but I will do it. Yeah, that will go on Instagram. Linus, we'll catch up with you soon. I'm gonna switch you guys off, but thank you very much, and hopefully I'll manage to save this video.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very
much.
Thank you so much.
All the best. Cheers, bye.
Cheers, bye.
So there we go. What a really great chat we had this evening. It just absolutely flew by. I had to sort of hurry them up a bit on a few of those questions. But yeah, I mean, phenomenal. I get to meet so many really nice people on here. And it kind of makes my day, really, because you've got so many guys and people on here that you can just learn, and just their different ways of life and where they've got to, how they've got to there. Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So next week, we've got Jagged Edge coming in, Jagged Edge Customs. He does some phenomenal work. I'm really looking forward to speaking to him. It's going to be at a later time. We're going to move it to 7 o'clock, so hopefully that should get more people viewing. But for all of you that watched, and then don't forget, I have this new feature called Surprise Guest Tuesday. So you won't know who it is until the Tuesday morning, and then I'll reveal who it is. I know, but I'm not going to tell you. So the next one is on. There is a guest lined up for Tuesday, but you'll just have to tune in on Tuesday to find out who that is. All right, have a lovely guys. Stay safe and have a great weekend. Okay, bye.